وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, this is October 1st, 2020. And the talk today is centered around a very unique subject. And that subject is today is kind of a personal talk. It's about comeback. And after you've lived a certain amount of time, you either get used to facing life and life just beating you up, you know. It's like I was listening to some discussions that people were having. Of course, it's just on the phone and certain videos, and it's about they're mostly about life and people that life had chose them instead of them choosing life. It was people that was having a hard time. And one of the speakers was saying, are you living through a period where life then chose you? In other words, the battle that you're going through, did life choose you or did you choose your battle? That's very, very important. If life chose you, that means you grew up in a certain environment, certain expectations, certain linguistic characteristics going on, certain foods in the environment, and that leads to education, and it also leads to not subliminal goals, but there are certain things that are expected of you. Well, I'll get this kind of job, I'll get that kind of job, I'll have certain expectations of family and what have you. And then that's when life chose you. You didn't choose what you wanted to do. Life, your history, everything, it had a lot to do with determining who you were, who you are as a person. And this happens to a whole group of people. In fact, some of the thinkers feel that it's at least 97% of the people in life, that's their life. Most of the people, they might have wanted to become an actor when they was a kid. They was pretty good at basketball and wanted to play, you know. They might have even been good at college, and the guy might have wanted to go to the NBA or give it a try, and the family told him, no, you better get you something that you can depend on, you know. And he might have had the habits of discipline that he learned from basketball, and he might become semi-successful doing what they said. He may become a coach or a trainer. And what he learned, he may be able to train other people to do what he always dreamed of doing. In fact, that happens a lot. That a person that wanted to be win a gold medal at the Olympics and something diverted them or something, but they training other people, sometimes they put that training, that goal that they had in the back of their mind, and they transfer it to the other people. And when they see the people getting the gold medal, in their heart, they're getting it too. You know, they're getting it too because that was their goal. They didn't have to do it themselves. So there's a lot of ways to fulfill life's goals and what life hands us. But one thing about it, if life chooses you or chooses your battles, they become very difficult. They can become very difficult. There are some sayings. If you do what's easy in your life, life will be hard. But if you don't do what's hard, life will be easy. It's unbelievable. And it happens. If you look at people look at a person and they just amazed. Good God Almighty, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I wouldn't want, and that's their whole self-talk. Look at what's happening to so-and-so. That must be hard. That must be a miserable life. Sometimes the whole town is looking at it. Sometimes even the whole country, they look at it and say, man, that has got to be, what I mean to say is, you can be living a life, okay, if you want to be a successful businessman or certain things like you might be playing football or basketball and all those things, and you may get a little injury and it could throw you off for a while. You may have to wait till next year to really heal deep down in, and so those things are almost natural when you're trying to go somewhere. Those things happen to people. If you're going into business, you may fail. One guy I was listening to him, he had failed about 13 times in business. Well, some people fail more than that, but that failure is a teaching. Every time you fail, you learn something from that failure. You grow, you develop from that, and you keep at it, you keep working at it. Eventually, bam, it kicks in. But if you quit, it's all over. And a lot of things we studied, we always use the thing of the thermostat about self-image. I don't know if you remember those talks, but in self-image psychology, how you see yourself determines where you go. And that thing, the thermostat has a comfort zone, and if you set it on 70 degrees, if it gets 68 degrees, it's going to come in and heat it up a little bit. If it gets 72 degrees, the air going to come in, cool it down to keep that comfort zone. That's usually 4 degrees, between 68 and 72. That's a comfort zone in there. And people have comfort zones in their life. Salespeople, if a salesperson is a $10,000 a month salesman, that's his regular thing. Or now they're a $20,000 a month salesman. If they sell $5,000 or $10,000, hey man, they may get busy because they're $20,000 a month salesman, and they got to get busy, and pretty soon they up there. They even got back to their comfort zone. They may keep on going. They may have a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month salesman. If the guy's not really sharp, when he hits somewhere that's way out of his comfort zone, either up or down, he might spend a whole month fixing his files and everything. Why? Because he's making $50,000 and he's a $20,000 man. You see what I mean? That's his comfort zone. And that comfort zone regulates where you're going. It really is a regulator, how you see yourself. That's why this thing about Black Lives Matter. Are you worth something? What's your self-esteem level? Are you valuable? Look at what they're doing. They're trying to make things, they're trying to make it so that, if you want to be free and don't want to get shot by the police, well, something is wrong with you. You're with Antifa or you're with some dumb body, right? And they act like, yeah, you're a radical leftist. Now remember, Antifa was around with Obama too. So what the heck does Antifa have with the white man here now running for president? Nothing, right? In fact, like we told the police, remember? They said, well, what about such and such? We said, that's your folks. That's your job. The hell, it don't have nothing to do with us. You couldn't deny it. What do you mean? Right? The stuff is on camera sitting there. What do you mean? What about them? Go catch them. Put them in jail. Beat them up. Whatever you want to do. That's your watch. And now, Don trying to blame the other white man for stuff that's happening on his watch. Like, you the president, why are you not taking care of that? Right? What do you mean, me? This is your administration. So, this comfort zone, self-image, self-esteem, we talk about it all the time because it is so important. How do you feel about yourself? That will determine how you weigh and measure yourself. That's what esteem means. It really means how do you weigh and how you measure yourself. Esteem, that's what it used to mean, to weigh and to measure. How do you weigh and how do you measure yourself? Okay? There's a lot of things that go along with the comfort zones, things like habits. We used to say a long time ago, in the beginning you make habits, in the end habits make you. What you do on a regular basis. And that's what we're dealing with right now, is there's certain things that are habitual, and we'll get into them later, and I always think about, well, what made certain things different? Well, when I came home from the pen in '65, I had good habits. I didn't have no bad habits. And then I was just lifting weights, and my friends was boxers, so we would go up in the hills and run, on those horse trails. I still go up there today. They don't go up there. They only went up there because they were boxers. Those guys, George Foreman and all of them, they went up there in the hills in Oakland. In fact, you could see all the fighters. They used to run around the lake. Lake Merritt has a lake about 3 miles around in Oakland. And in those days, if you was running, you would be running on the sidewalk and sometime on a little bit of grass. But and we wore them army boots in those days, so those things we didn't know how bad they was for your legs and knee. Oh my goodness. I mean, personally, I didn't start running shoes till in 79 and 80. Stuff like that. I ran in army boots. We used to call them running boots, them paratrooper boots. And I guess, so we ran in the hills because running on the lake around it, on concrete and them things, oh my goodness. So anyway, we had good habits. So when things happened to us, like people trying to divert us from a certain direction, well, we had good habits because we ran, we lift weights, and didn't drink and didn't do nothing. So we had good habits. That's one of the things that the government didn't like. There's nobody in town that has those type of habits. Those very good habits, and for Negroes, why if enough of them get those habits, we're in trouble. So they tried to divert it. But trying to divert us actually ran us right smack dab into developing our mission. It developed, in other words, we messed around with it so long that the process of evolution, pretty soon we adopted this as our program, as our mission. Because you get involved in things and pretty soon you just evolve into certain things. And let's talk about a comeback. When I remember Christmas period of 1971, if y'all remember, I told you that I got a call from a guy that I hadn't seen him since the train station in Germany in 1971, the winter of 71. We had left Copenhagen and went down to visit with his parents. One of his parents, his mother was in the Army, and she was a sergeant, and his stepdaddy was in the Army, was in the Air Force, and he was a sergeant, and they lived on the base in K-Town, they call it Kaiserslautern, in Germany. And we went down. Now, I didn't come back from Africa, and I got to get busy doing something. I done discovered the whole world of Africa. Now, I done left that environment, and I'm in Copenhagen. And I'm there for a certain period of time. And so during that Christmas time, 1971, we went down to visit his family and spend Christmas with his family. To me, it was like being in the U.S. because it was Quaker Oats and all that around, And so it was very familiar. And I was listening to certain music. They was a certain age, but the kind of music they listened to was just the kind that I kind of liked. Anyway, I just was tripping that whole period. Then on the way back, I was driving this. I had a big old VW van. I had bought it in Paris. One of them hippie vans, a Volkswagen van. And I didn't know much about them, so I didn't have enough oil in it. On the way back, I'm driving on the Autobahn, and you could drive as fast as you want, And that boy blew up, bam. So somebody come by, picked us up, and took us to the train station. At the train station, we looked around, and they had stole all of our bags almost. It wasn't they had stole, the government stole the bags because that was too quick. So anyway, they did me a favor because you should have saw the clothes. Good God Almighty, I left America, man, did I have clothes. Had clothes, mink hats. And man, you would have thought it was one of them white women that was on a boat trip somewhere, and you see all the porters carrying her luggage. That's the way I was. Boy, did I have luggage. They stole it all. That was right after Christmas, and I had said to myself, I'm going to make a comeback. I'm leaving here January 1st, 1972. And I did. I went back to, the brother was saying, man, I want to stay here and get my stuff. I said, well, you can stay here all you want. I'm going back to Copenhagen, wave bye to everybody, put a few things together, and I'm gone. When I came back on this side, I had a little handbag, one of them little handbags, about this big, and the clothes I had on, and that's it. You know, and so I always think about that as my first comeback. I went to Lima, Peru, and soon as I got there, the police had a sweep of all malcontents or what have you, and so I was sitting there in jail with all the malcontents. My first day in Lima, Peru. It wasn't the police knew I was there, and they wanted to welcome me to Peru. So I'd be very cautious. So I stayed there a while. I used to hang out around a statue. The statue was Jorge Washington, George Washington. And so if I go back to Lima, I can know where I'm at based on that statue. There's a statue and it's a long, big, where you sit down and you can talk on this side of the thing and you can hear the people on the other. And I remember it was a white boy and a Negro girl. The Negro girl was from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I said, good God Almighty. Of course, that's where I'm from, you know. And it was a white boy, and the white boy was Welling. Anyway, things got so funny acting that he said, well, you can see the stripes on I was acting like he was the police. But I'm friendly, but he said, well, you can see the stripes on my arm then. You know, sergeant stripes like. I said, yeah. Then I went on to Bolivia. And I got to Bolivia, certain things happened, but in Bolivia is where I spent my first money on whatever the product I was. But then I came across the lake from La Paz, then I came back to Peru, and the police surrounded the place again. Guess what I had to do? I had to hide whatever I had bought. Yeah, that was my first purchase. And so I just got out of town. Because they do that now, but when they did it then, I was dirty. If the police is hanging over your yard looking at you like this and you got dope on you, well, you gotta shoot. I left it with a lady. I said, hey, would you hold this package for me? Zoop, I headed for Colombia, like the white boys had told me. And I went to Colombia, and things got started. But that was my first comeback. That's what the talk is tonight. It's about coming back. It's about continuity, keeping up. It's about 95% of ability is stickability. It's like when you choose what you're doing, as some of the people say, when you choose what you're doing, what you're going to do, if life chooses you, then that's going to be hard. Whatever you do, it'll be hard for you, right? But when you choose what you're doing, or if you do what's hard, life is easy. If you do what's easy, life is hard. And I meant that to say right now, we'll get into all the talks and stuff that we wanted to talk about things we talked about the other night. But see, we're in a certain stage right now. This is the time of the comeback. This is the time, you could tell, when they talk, all the stars is lining up. When you can't talk one day without it happening the next day, it's too consistent, it's too close. It don't make no difference how it's happening. It don't make no difference whether they listen and they say, we'll fool them by doing this and that. It don't make no difference. Those things are lining up. And then we have a chance. At first, we wanted to to wait, because we already wrote down, you know, we got to sleep under a bridge. So psychologically, we might have been trying to urge it back to, like they doing stuff to you, and you saying that ain't nothing. We want to get back to where we want to make a real comeback. We want to be flat to zero. You know, it's not arrogance. It's just like once you done made one or two, once you done made 2 or 3 comebacks, they part of your life then. Actually, once you made one, unless you, anyway, it's part of your life. So anyway, those things about habits, it's very true. If you do the things that are easy, life is hard. But if you do the things that are hard and difficult, life is easy. That's why everybody look at what goes on here, and they probably saying, man, I wouldn't want that to be happening in my life. I would never want to be surrounded by the whole government. Because see, even the richest white man or the most experienced athlete, they don't have everything against them, right? They got a life, it moves out of your way if you keep moving forward. Finally, it'll open up. But what about when you have a specific team for decades that their job is to make you do what they want you to do, or to hold you up from going to where you want to go, right? And you know that, and everybody else do too, and everybody else would be looking at it like, man, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. That's terrible. But if you grew up, if you've been trained to do the things that's hard, right, then that's easy. It don't seem like it should be like, that's the way it is. That the training in life may be harder than life itself. You know, like we talked about the SEALs and all that. That training is so difficult, you ain't never gonna have to swing on a rope 1,000 feet high with one finger, right? That's how they train you. You gotta stay under the water for 3 minutes. Stay underwater for 3 minutes? The record ain't nothing but 4 minutes or something. How am I gonna do that, right? But they train you to do that. Then you go on the mission. Oh, that mission was easy. We just swung on a rope or two, you know, jumped and snatched the man, put him in a bag and took him off, right? It's psychological. It's like in South Africa, they had one of those motivational things, and the friends of mine over there, they do that all the time. They was having a retreat where people would walk across hot coals, you know, barefooted. And so one of the people that was having it, and myself, everybody else walked across the coals. I said, I'm not going to walk across no coals. I don't have to fix myself up psychologically, because if you can walk across hot coals, you can do anything. That's what they're training them to do. I said, shoot, if them people walking across some coals put up with what we put up with, boy, they'd be hollering and crying, right, and spinning around. So this thing about, in the beginning, you make habits. In the end, habits make you. For some people, comebacks are part of their life. Also, taking it easy for a while. When I mentioned 67, it was a nice little cruising period. When 68 come in, we're ready to roll. Okay. And we pulling back naturally, not because anybody making us doing it, right? So right now, this little cruising period falls in naturally. But after that cruising and taking it easy period, which technically we're not cruising and taking it easy. Technically, We're doing our regular training, regular this and regular that, and we're expanding in our own way. There comes a time, though, when it's all visible. It's all visible. And it looks like, a long-range swimmer have to know how to tread water, where you're not drowning, right? And you ain't going nowhere. You're just treading water to get your bearing, to get your, you know what I mean? Even to take a rest. All you're doing is just treading water. And sometime in life, people go through that, treading water. And also, certain habits. I don't know, I remember, I might have told y'all about, maybe it was around 1970. We was down at the California Hotel, and I had one of my partners with me, and I had Willie Ward had another one of his friends, Ollie King or somebody. They was sitting in the back seat and talking about rich. That was the super rich period. And when Negroes get super rich all of a sudden, sometimes all their bookkeeping and their discipline, they start partying. Not some, I would say almost all, even guys in sports. They start chasing so many girls, their game get off, you know what I mean? And they start eating and their faces all puffed up and everything, right? They can catch that. They go to Hollywood. They make a few movies, they get big, all of a sudden they partying all night, they snorting all the coke. Almost everybody, all the old timers, Red Fox, Richard Pryor and them, all our people, man, from those days, all of them, every last one of them. The girls, the cocaine and all of that. Well, I used to run the hills every day, lifting iron, and I still did it. But at that time, we was snorting a lot of blow, So I turned around and I said to my partner, I looked to the side, I said, you got another one of them things? It blew up, I don't know how much it was. So, you got another one of them things? So Willie Ward said, if you keep that up, you won't be captain of the ship. I act like I didn't pay no attention. The next morning, I was in the hills. I went and locked up all the blow, and I used to come by the chief Negroes' houses, and they wouldn't come out, to take them to run and to lift iron, and they wouldn't come out of the house. They played, because they just got home. I'd feel the car, and the engine was hot, and in those days, some big old Brohams, they had air lift, and it goes psst, psst, and it lifts up the car. Because the car is so big, it was air ride. It would lift the car up a little bit and level it. Load level is what they call them. So when you turn the engine off, for an hour, it's just going psst, psst, And that's what I knew they was in the house. Come on out of there. They wouldn't go. But I locked up all the blow. And when I come to the nightclub, I'd have one of them black tight T-shirts on, lifting iron, and running them hills from habit. I knew he was right. And it didn't take, now, the dumb people would say, I don't need to slow down and get back on business. But I looked at the business. The business was big, but it was getting loose. And in another 2-3 months, it would be super loose, and we'd be broke because we'd be spending money on everything, right? Anyway, so that was in 1970. That was because of habits. In the beginning, you make habits. In the end, habits make you, because you have a reservoir of good habits, right? And that reservoir of good habits make it where you don't have a habit aligned to yourself. Oh, you be all right. just do it a few more days, and then a few more days, a few more months, and then you broke and in the cemetery. That comes from good habits. In the beginning, you make habits, and in the end, habits make you. We're going through a period now, and it's always, when I look at all these notes, they're all the same. It could be 40 years ago, early rise. Well, early rise now means 6, So the last 5 out of 7 days, I've been down here for Fajr. And I have, am I reading somewhere? There's a hadith back there, and under that is a mixture of Quran and hadith. So that means early rise in this life we live in right now. Man, I was getting up making Fajr at 9 o'clock or something. Late, because you can't go to bed and take notes and watch TV and all that till 5 o'clock and get up at 6 o'clock. You just can't do it, right? So this life, I was living this type of life my kids lived, because nobody got to go to school. They're doing all their work at home. So they can do whatever they want. They can do that. But early rise. So right now, I know it's comeback time. I know it's comeback time because I know what I've been doing for the last week or so. I knew how I felt just making salat right there. You know what I mean? And I knew how many times I go out to the little house and lift iron, how many times I do push-ups, how many times I'm going over and run. Everything, right, is falling into place because of the reservoir of good habits. And even, we talk about it sometime, even the best trained people don't have to be at the highest point all the time. Sometimes it's good just to let yourself drift a little bit, and then you get back in shape. You know what I mean? And a good army is like that. The guys are not super trained all the time, and running 100 miles all the time, right? So it's the same thing with life. If you do what's easy, life is hard. But if you do what's hard, life is easy. Everything, all the stuff that happened and have been happening here and in Oakland and everywhere is unbelievable. I don't see nobody else being able to go through that type of thing. But we're doing it, and we're doing it easy. I'm telling you, it's almost a joke. It's almost a joke. And then at a certain level, example, I've been also paying a lot of attention to Islamic lectures, and I even listened to our dear New York brother, 2 of them, today and one yesterday. And it's at some of these big conferences. And then when you see the way they do on those conferences now, of course we've been knowing it all the time, but they got a whole new group of people, brothers and sisters, and they're all relatively good speakers. Those people are not, the whole thing used to hinge on them. The whole thing used to hinge on them. They were the highlight of everything. And when they came up to speak, everybody just, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and they just had the place jumping. You could hear the crowd and you could hear them. That ain't happening no more. But at the same time, certain things happened like that to us, but it was different with us. Let's say with the crowd that we were conferencing and world traveling with, All the time we was involved in that, we was doing it for a certain reason. We were growing and developing, and we always maintained our own independence, no matter what they had in mind. So if they changed their mind, it didn't have no effect on us. Even today, it has no effect on us. Our friends from overseas, they came right here, it was 2-3 months ago, that everything we was telling them, we did things on the video, we told them, no, this is what's happening in America. They didn't want to hear that. They wanted something else to be happening. They wanted something else to be, and they sent someone, from Tehran over here. They sent them right over here to be with me, to talk to me about it, and it's a friend, to try to, well, you sure it's not this? I said, ain't that? I said, boss man, look at here. And then they talk in that language, but I saw in their faces, I said, you saw a mirage. You saw movement and stuff in them. I said, we was out there. We tried to talk to them. We went there specifically. Did they want direction? Did they want guidance? Did they want leadership? They didn't want it. They were already out there, and they already got their mission. To be out there, to walk around, right? And then to go home. And then right after that, for the system to take over everything, and then they blame them for being out there, just not wanting to get shot, right? They saying, why, you're burning down the buildings. Well, it's not us burning down the buildings, it's they homeboys burning down the building, right? And I don't know why our mayors and stuff are so slow. You never hear them say, hey, y'all burning down them buildings. It ain't us burning down them buildings. Our people are praying for you. Our people are saying, you haven't heard not one family, right, from amongst the oppressed. Their children are shot. Some of them are dead right now, right? And they're praying for everybody, and every time you hear them talk, they say, we don't want any violence. You don't want no violence. And they shooting us down like that, and they won't stop. They won't well, we'll take a break. We just shot 17 niggas lately, so we're gonna have a moratorium on shoot niggas. They don't have no more, they don't have nothing. And then they blame you for what they people do. They come and they run around, they burn down stuff. And it ain't us. It's they people doing it. Why aren't you against that? That old white man ought to tell him, man, we don't have nothing to do with that. That's your folks. Antifa was here during Obama's time. They've been here doing the same thing, burning stuff, running around on motorbikes. That ain't our people. What are you talking about? Right? All of them, they people. The Boogaloo Boys, what's the name of them other people? Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. Y'all heard of the Boogaloo? Yeah, Boogaloo. I don't know why they chose Mad Dog, Boogaloo, you know. Boogaloo on Broadway, whatever they want to do. I mean, you know.
I did look them up, so I do know where the name came from. But you know, this leader is like a 19-year-old dude, 19-year-old white.
It's so okay. We can see that, but how many white folks in America do you think can look at that? How many of them look at the thing that happened the other night and can assess it and put it in the right framework? How many people at ICNA and ISNA and all them people look at that stuff and put it in the proper framework? How many of the Negro leaders is as old as me? They ought to know better. They ought to know something. they're not even, I mean, you got to listen to it. The lectures they give are beautiful on Islam. They are nice. But they're talking like there's nothing happening. There's no movement. There's no, you know what I mean? You know, it's just, mashallah, you know, and all. That's the way that, ain't nobody saying nothing. Okay, that's fine. You know, that's why for them, if they did what we're doing, it would be hard for them. It would be hard for them. But it's easy for us. And that's why today's talk is a comeback. We used to have the old flyer, a setback ain't nothing but a setup. That's Willie Jolly, the guy here from D.C. He's a little motivator, he said that. A setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. Okay. Let's just visit the other night. Now, the other night was on, when the brother came in and talked about a wrestling match. That's on there, right? Good. Okay. So now people, we're going to explain to you what you just saw. And it ain't nothing new. You can follow up day by day, week by lecture by lecture. We said that Donald Trump was broke years ago. We said he don't have no money. Okay. They just said he don't have no money 2 weeks ago. Or something. Walaikum. Okay, that means he don't have no money. If you're a police officer or anything else and you got debts and all of that, they won't hire you because you're a risk. You know, you got all this debt, right? You pay your debts off, then you can become a daily police. Now, Don, this is what the white folks say. The white folks say Don paid $750. Actually, $750. I mean, that's great. I mean, and then, but he owes. One group says $300 million, and the other group says $400 million. Doesn't make a difference. Okay. If you owe that much money to people, that means, what about the other you owe it? Don't nobody even know nothing about it, but that makes you vulnerable. Remember what we said, somebody hired, this is nothing new to us here, somebody hired him. And the people that hired him knew that he was broke. They knew his lifestyle. They had studied him. If you want to study a crime and who did it, and you first go to who benefited. Who benefited from Don and his being broke? The Israelis. The first thing he did, sent the embassy, closed the embassy down where it was to Jerusalem. Just closed it down. He stopped the 35 million or whatever the Palestinians used to get through the UN. They cut that off. And they don't allow them to, can you imagine? You can't get no money. We're not going to give you no water because the water happens to be flowing our way through to you, and we cutting that off. And electricity, we cutting that off too. And rebuilding all of what we destroyed 10, 12, 15 years ago, we can't let you have any cement from Egypt because you'll build bunkers. And of course, over there, everything is brick and cement, right? All of there's a group of people. Iran is under sanction. Iraq was destroyed by the West. Destroyed 2 times in a row. And then all these demonstrations in Iraq lately they organized them. That's why they closed the U.S. embassy. Years ago, the biggest embassy in the Middle East used to be in Cairo, 3,500 people. 4,500 people. How they made the embassy that big in Iraq? For snitches. And they could, from an embassy that big, they can manage the whole country. Now they got to leave. We'll get into all that later. The Zionists hired Don in conjunction with support from Saudi Arabia. All of them have a common enemy, the Islamic Republic of Iran. And therefore, Hezbollah, they hate the unity that the Iranians have with the Iraqis and all of that stuff. And their killing of the great leader over there, all it did was solidify the people. Okay. So for us, it's not a mystery. Don was hired by them to destroy America and the Democratic Party, and the guy that they hire have to be a crackpot to do it. A standard politician wouldn't do it, right? Okay, now what has he done? Everything he does is a total affront to what they call America. I'm not going to accept the election. If that, you think Obama or anybody or Clinton, any white man could have said that. I don't know if I'm going to accept. What if the king, George Washington, stepped down and he could have been king? Everybody know that. He could have been the king. He wouldn't have had no trouble. In fact, some people was mad because he didn't. George, you got to stay. We need a monarch or something. I ain't going to do it. And their early elections, they talk about the founding fathers. Man, I wish you could read some of them old newspapers of Thomas Jefferson and each. See, in those days, even up to a few years ago, each crew had a newspaper. And they wrote all the dirt on the other crew, and the other crew wrote all the, you know what I mean? So you kept up on what was going on, because they was definitely searching out. So the great Thomas Jefferson, man, was a whoremonger, and if the stuff, it's a tabloid, the stuff they wrote about the poor man, you know? Okay, and they call them the founding fathers, like the Holy Grail, the Constitution, like it's, you're against the Constitution, what? That's why we read all the stuff that we read. We read what Tom said. He had a piece he was going to put in, they call it the 1776 crew. I don't know if you saw it. You know, Donald Trump. The 1776, because we got the 1619 crew. So 1776, they won't let us get up there. Don, y'all, 1776, look at all the stuff they had. They writing about us, and you ain't put it in the Declaration. Why is it not there? Wasn't this, nobody, they get away with murder. It's as though either they don't know or they don't care. And the Constitution, that rag, 3/5 of a person, the 13th Amendment, great old Abe, honest Abe, gotta have the 13th Amendment for the Negroes, come hell or high water, huh? Slavery's outlawed, unless you got a case. Who got cases there? Why is it a dragnet in the Negro neighborhood all the time? Ever since then, right? This stuff is so, okay, we ain't got time to bother with them. They can say and do whatever they want. It's their business, right? We just going and doing what we allotted and laid out for us. They can do what they want to do. And they could scare people. You know, I remember when I was a kid, in the newspaper, 59, 60, all that, the Oakland Tribune, they would have blast areas. They would show if a 50 megaton bomb blows up in Oakland, it would have a fireball 5 square miles. That's the fireball, not the blast area. For a 100 megaton bomb, it's a 10. That means a fire, can you imagine a fireball, pure fire, like the sun, for 10 square miles? Forget about that, meaning anybody 100 miles away or whatever, they're going to burn up too. Because the fireball, pure fire. And we would read all that, even I read the newspapers then. I was young, but they'd scare you to death. And then they'd tell you, duck and cover. Duck and cover. And even as a young kid, I was a little slow, but I wasn't. Wait a minute. And then they show you all the pictures of when the atomic bomb go off, it just consumes everything. And then it turned people, like at Nagasaki and all that, they evaporated. They zapped, as the white folks call it. They're a shadow, consumed. And then they was telling us, well, just get under the desk. I said, good God Almighty, that thing gonna blow up right down the street. Because they're gonna hit all the major cities. And San Francisco and Oakland, of course, is a major city. If you was in D.C., it's too bad for you. And they telling niggas, duck and cover. Well, I will say that they would have you, it's life altering, because how you gonna have any fun if they didn't made the Russians, they always got them gonna blow you up and kill you or something. And those mean old communists, inhuman. Remember how they used to make the communists look? They wasn't really humans. They was kind of automatons and Manchurian candidates and all that stuff. Man, they scare you to death. You keep that stuff. Boss man, you ain't scaring nobody I'm around no more. I don't care what you do. Talking about, you want to mess up your Constitution? You want to have racial tension in your country? Go ahead and have it. I don't care. You know what I mean? Oh, you hear him on it. Oh, my God. What are we going to do? He's already setting it up to the election won't be fair. And he got the Proud Boys and he got the Boogaloo Boys. I said, I don't care who that nigga got. I don't care nothing about them. If they're stupid enough to go for that stuff, then that's their business. Don't have nothing to do with us. We got our own business to take care of. And we'll talk about a little bit of that. The things that we are dealing with, if other people don't see them, and they don't want to associate themselves with certain realities, that's their business. If it's not all of them want to do their stuff. Of course, we always have made our it's kind of like you got to do what you got to do, but you don't want to become arrogant or overbearing, you know what I mean, or anything like that. And so that's why we always, we've been in this so long, and the great people appeal to the people. Okay. There's one thing about those appeals, though, they have a little light time with, like our appeal with Halle Berry. Okay, this is an offer. It's like, we're going to fix the house over there. Somebody, if they want an opportunity, here's what we offer. It's the same opportunity in Jahiliyyah, except it's new worldism. In those days, you want to be big, big. Remember, everybody at that time is little. And to bring you up on that, I had a couple of friends that had new Cadillacs. They did their hair and everything. And one of my other friends on the other side of town, him and Frank Washington was friends. They was pimps, you know what I mean? And so when I first started going on that side of town, I was hanging around different people. He said, those two niggas there, I mean, they dressed the part, they looked the part, they had their hair done. He said, those is little niggas. They looked like they had alligator shoes. They had everything that everybody else had. But he told me, he said, just be careful about Junior and them. Those niggas is little. I'm on the other side of town, just blending, you know, getting big and, you know, so your friends from the old days that knew you very well, they schooling you on this part of town, whether you was in jail together, whether these niggas over here. And that's what they said. That's the exact terminology they used in those days. Those niggas is little. Well, that's the same thing I would say to Halle Berry. This offer may have a couple of weeks left, but that offer has something to go with it. The skills that people have would be very useful now, but for what we're trying to do, but we're getting ready to go somewhere. And anybody going there, they got to be big. Okay, all that other little stuff, you had to close the door to all that Abdul Malik-ism, them, those, they're human beings, but they're little niggas. You have to get, all the people in Oakland was little. They have to be little. If all of them, including LA, including all, can you imagine a whole troop of people against one man and they can't hurt him? They got to be little. It's impossible. They little, and they got government behind them. Those people are so little, it's unbelievable. They little. Okay, now, anybody getting ready to go on this ride, it's the same offer. You want to make this ride with us? Where we're going now, you have to be prepared. You're not big now, but you have to be prepared to be big. Because where we're going now, we're going into a whole new dispensation. That means where we're not accepting any victimhood, we're not dealing with being oppressed, because we're not oppressed now. They're oppressed now. We're not going down, they're going down. We're not at a disadvantage, they're disadvantaged. The disadvantage is so striking. Can you imagine? It was just like the brother said the other day, it wasn't last week, it was can you imagine just 2 days ago? He said, it's like a wrestling match, remember? And we talked about it. Yeah, y'all may not remember Gorgeous George, Haystack Calhoun, and all them people. Those was the old time wrestlers. They really perfected wrestling. I mean, can you imagine? One of my friends, you know, in Iran, wrestling is a national sport. Wrestling is a national sport. So one of my friends was going to school in Denver, and his father came over to visit with him for a while, and the only thing that his father could watch was wrestling. He used to watch that. He was just, and my partner told me, the brother, Iranian brother, he said, man, my father watches the wrestling and he can't get it, this American wrestling. Because see, there, you wrestling, you holding each other real tight. You ain't jumping all around. You can't because, right? And he's seeing the guy fold, you know how they do. They take a chair, they fold it up real neat, then they bang the guy, and then they jump all out of the ring now and they land on the table like this. The table collapses and it's got padding under. I mean, you said, man, that's deep. You know what I mean? So that's what happened the other night. And we feel that it was all arranged. It's all arranged. It's not all arranged now. It's been arranged. And whether it's fully arranged from both sides, it's fully arranged on one side and partially arranged at minimum on the other. Minimum. Okay. But imagine the first thing I did was I got on the foreign press and and that's all I watched. Well, that's not all. I watched what everybody said. 4 or 5 different news, or 7, 8, all the news everywhere. And then you deal with BBC, Iranian news, all that. They said, what is wrong with America? Not only they already got 200-some thousand people, which they're talking about that. Then they're talking about forest fires in California. They're still burning. I'm going to go back to California when they stop. I talked to Oakland today. I said, well, how's the fire? It's hazy. I said, shoot, I ain't coming. Because people want to know when you come. I'm not going to come back. I'm 75 years old and all that smoke. I mean, I could handle it, but who wants to just be coughing all day? And the last time I was riding on 80, I left Salt Lake City on Highway 80, and all them forest fires up in Oregon was blowing down across I-80. And I'm in Utah. I said, man, imagine when I get to California and Nevada. And now this is worse. Remember, they just said the haze over here, up there in the jet stream, now it's over the Atlantic.
It's funny. I watched the debate. I took some time. I replayed it. I didn't watch it, see the whole thing that night. But it was funny because Donald Trump got up there and he blamed the forest fires on there being too many trees in California. He said they need to trim the trees. That's the problem.
Well, what he said was, see, I remember what we did when we were forced, we did bugging trees. Bugging trees is you can look over the forest, and they got a bug that eats around the tree. If it eats around the tree, no water can go up to the top. So when you look across the forest, you see the trees that have to be bugged and cut down. So you cut down those trees, and then you strip the bark off, and then you burn the bark because the bugs are in the bark. The other thing you do is you clean the underbrush. So forget about 65% of that property in California belongs to the federal government, not the city's Division of Forestry. We would take care of it, but it belongs to the federal government. So if the underbrush is not, what happens is the underbrush, if you have forest fires are a natural part of, environment, but small ones, you know what I mean? So they burn every now and then, and in the natural environment, they would burn the underbrush too. If you stop the forest fires, it never get a chance to burn the underbrush. So they stop the forest fires as soon as possible. And so it develops an underbrush. That's why we would have to clean the forest. The underbrush, all the bushes and everything, just like the stuff out there,
That's what he's calling
Forest management. Look, the man is crazy. The forest management. No, the man is absolutely crazy. Forest management is maybe 10% of the thing. It's not 90% of it. It's 10% of it. The other thing is that the forest is dry. And it's dry because it ain't no rain coming. It ain't no rain coming because the climate done changed. And the climate, they just finished a 10-year drought in California. The reservoirs was all empty. Then they had a few years back, a couple of good years of rain. Okay, if they have forest fires up in Oregon and you probably heard on the news that it rains up there a lot. So the rain came and put out those forest fires up in Oregon and Washington. But California, this is still dry season. The dry season used to end, this is October, it would end around now at the end of October. And in the wet season, November, December, January, February, March, a beautiful spring. April showers, May bring rain. So April and May. But after that, it's dry out there. So by June, you're starting to pick up a few little fire. It ain't rain. July, you done been 2 months without no. August, there's nothing. It's just tinderbox. That's why you throw a match out there or a little spark, a campfire, all of that, finished. Okay, now, end of September and then they have Santa Ana winds. They have winds. Now remember the car fire the tornadoes within. Can you imagine how hot that is? You know how the wind just makes the fire hotter? Imagine tornadoes and hurricanes within the fire. That's why when you see that stuff, it looks like a bombing. It never used to be that. The whole city never would burn down. Let him blame. If he wants to say that's the problem, let him go ahead. It's not our business. What I mean is it's our business in a way to make a better world, but we not going to waste our time getting in their argument. If y'all going to argue about that, and if you ain't going to straighten it up, too bad. It's just like atomic bombs. We're not going to, please don't drop no atomic bomb. If you're so dumb, you don't want to fix the weather, go ahead. You'll fix it sooner or later. Yeah, when it ain't no weather here to fix, you're going to have a nightmare or something. You're going to get up sometime at night and say, where's the trees? You know, okay. That's what we mean is we're dealing with the war on drugs, the war on Islam, all those things that people are not talking about, that they're blaming us for. Oh, there's so many killings in Chicago. Well, why? Why are they killing in Chicago? I haven't heard one Negro mayor or nobody say you brought drugs in our community, you destroyed our beautiful black community, and now you blame it on us. You're killing us and blaming us for not wanting to get killed. This is insanity. Whatever they want to do, they can keep it. They can keep it, and we have to focus on what we can. That's why we're inviting the people during this period. We're inviting everybody. But they have to be prepared to get big. You know, you have to be able to get big. This is not for little niggas. It ain't gonna be no, there's no room, right? And you gotta remember, we're not the only people dreaming and visualizing and hoping about a better world. We're not the only ones anymore, right? During this stage, all the people that are like that, they're going to bump into each other. You can't, whether this thing goes out or not, or 10 people listen or 1,000, it don't make no difference. During this go round, you can taste it. It's the time for that. Hey, the people that want, when I say big, that means they want to influence the world. They don't want their world destroyed. Those people will automatically, birds of a feather flock together. That's true. There are people like us, all colors, all races, you know. And to be like that, you have to have some little speck of character. They don't be perfect people, but they have to have from the low level of humanity on up, from Nafsalawama to, you know, on up. They have to be conscious, you know. Okay, that means, just like Imam Khomeini said, rid yourself of all of that doubt and self-doubt. You know, and you will establish an Islamic state. Day by day, little by little, you're going to acquire, right, the ability to manage your situation and manage your environment. That's what he told them over 40 years ago. And it happened. They have learned. Everybody's not perfect. Some are not even good. But it's enough good people that they are in pocket and they are not going to allow. And Allah is with them. And look at the people of Yemen all this time. They done bombed it back to the stone. It's back farther than Afghanistan was. Can you imagine? And Saudi Arabia is still bombing. They're going to have straightening brought to them. Lebanon is under pressure. All of the good people are under pressure. Compared to the good people, the stuff we have here is nothing. It's nothing because we can laugh at it. And remember, boss man bites the dust. Boss man have technically bitten the dust already. There's no recovery. And every day, can you see every single day? It don't make no difference what happened in the election, in the selection. There ain't no victory. They can't, what can they do? What can you do? You can't, look, they done lost the game. But that's why we're offering them the chance. You know, like, it sounds crazy for us to be saying now, Mr. and Mrs. FBI people, y'all got to come around too. You see what you got. You're innocent. You're serious. He done sold your country to the Zionists. You're supposed to be independent. You don't have to worry. And now, it's not new. We've been talking this for decades. Because from the very beginning, it would not be logical for a little minority group or someone here or there, no matter how well known, how many popular, that they're going to harness the resources of the whole earth and change the whole thing by themselves. A handful of people that don't go like that. This is a global movement. And we're in it. But we're not by ourselves. There's other people talking and thinking. And even this stuff come at this time, this little temporary stay-at-home stuff, it's got people talk. We got to do things different now. It's letting them see that all those buildings downtown, hey, you don't need them anymore. You got these big schools everywhere. You can teach people at home. You can teach people, you see what I mean? All of this is happening where They don't have to tear down. They can have people living in 100-story buildings. They don't have to build nothing out in the woods no more for the next 20 or 30 years, unless they want to. Yeah. They're going to have to replant the forest, because the forest hold water. I think one tree holds 57,000 gallons, something like that. Something astronomical. One tree, it holds that much water, right? You gotta stop paving, because the paving run the water right on out, and it don't sink into the soil, and Yep, no underground water. Where are you gonna get underground water from? It's all running right out to the river and out into the ocean. Anyway, let's see. So these habits, in the beginning you make habits, in the end habits make you. That goes with self-study, self-talk, and self-image. Self-talk is, I guess all of us do it, I'm sure. Man, how you doing? Oh, I'm just doing fine. Da, 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 da. How's your health? Just talking to yourself. Self-talk, the white folks call it. But the white folks believe that 87% of self-talk is negative. It's not like that. Self-talk, self-study, just like we're going over what is our condition right now. Okay, our condition is fine, but it's better than it was last month and this next month coming up. And when we get to California, well, we're going to be running the hills, and that's going to put us even. So when we leave here, we're going to be ready to roll, but we'll be back in, let's call it another type of conditioning, similar to the old days type. Yeah. Why? Because you did it before. Because it's comeback time. We've done that many times. And these comebacks have you have to study yourself. All battle-worn people know yourself, know your enemy 1,000 battles 1,000. You know yourself. Why? You're self-communicating. You communicate with yourself. And you, just like you have to make the correct analysis about the outer world, you have to make a good analysis of the inner world yourself, right? And the outer world is just proof. Right now, it's not even necessary for proof. The analysis is so up to date and so clear cut that everybody see it. Okay. Again, we're just offering an opportunity to be big. So, Forest Auto, if they don't come pick the cars up and fix them, if they don't, we just put out the video that we had, and that'll be it. We're just going to do that. They don't have to do nothing, right? It ain't going to make us a break. We're giving you opportunity to straighten your life out. That's all. Just come and fix the stuff up and put a $25,000 cash in the box just for the little hassles. With the government, okay, they can give us our $100 million. It would be easier or smoother just to fix it up and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. That would be better. But in a way, whatever way it happened will be the best way. Of course, if we have to struggle up, we have to call some of the tattletales like Najee and them and say, help fix this up. You're a lawyer. If you went to school for law, what did you think? You was going to mosey around us for 100 years and do all them dumb shows? Black August, and the blackest August is right here. And, you don't exist. I remember I said, they had some Negro from 1966. He was at the institution that I was, but I left in 65. He was talking about black this and black that. I said, in 66, I was going up to that same institution, visiting old friends. That's when you could do that. And I could tell you all about that, but I could tell you the real deal. Who is that? In other words, they go out of their way. You're sitting there talking about the horse's mouth. You got the horse there and the horse's mouth, and you go find a donkey or something else, somewhere else that had nothing to do with anything. They ought to be tired of that stuff. It's ridiculous, right? And whether our Iranian friends, whatever they want to do, it's ridiculous, the stuff they do. Oh, we're not going to invite you anymore. So what? Or we're going to invite you and then play like you're not there. So these people is crazy, right? It's insanity. Well, everybody know Imam Khomeini's program was Wahda, unity, right? And you don't hear not one Shia talking about whatever they became Shia. Even Najee come here praying on a turba, a rock. I said, you didn't become, you know who, huh? Well, yeah, I said, well, good for you. I said, but what about unity, Wahda? What about Imam Khomeini's program? There's not one Negro. And I know I was giving a speech down in Dallas, and I was trying to explain to the brothers. I said, well, dear friends, I said, all the African Americans I came in contact with was the police. Well, if I was in LA with one crew, you could imagine who that was. The Oakland crew that came up there from Baituddin in 82, 81, 82. Yeah, some little guy died in the swimming pool. Baituddin, Sheikh Fadullah Hayri, that was his name. He was a Shia Sheikh. Well, what I asked the guys, Ali Abdul Malik, another guy, he brought a whole crew out to Oakland. A whole crew. Can you imagine they pack up a whole crew and all the kids could recite Quran nice? That's when Negroes wasn't reciting Quran correctly. And they brought all of them out, their Shias, and they thought they'd come out and they'll interfere with us and the other Shias. The other Shias didn't pay them people no attention. They already knew it. They said they must be the police. They come out here, the kids already recite, because in those beautiful recital, the kids. Shoot, a couple of years later, what's the name? The women was all on welfare, so he run off with all the welfare money. That was just a scene. And, and they left, And I asked him, I said, what is your sheikh? He said, he's a Sufi Sunni Shia sheikh. I said, well, I'll be doggone. I said, that's it there. I said, that is it right there. You know what I mean? So whichever way you roll the dice, they're going to come up 7, 11, no box cars, no nothing. They're just going to hit every time because he's a Sufi, Sunni, Shia sheikh. A credible sheikh. Fadullah, he was a credible. In those days, they didn't have too many credible guys. And he bought the place in Blanco, Texas, and they could go out in the country, and they was all out there. And if you think that our property is deteriorated, imagine he buy a whole comp and build it from the ground up, and then they all pack up and leave. That ain't nothing new. That's what they did down there, and the whole place just crumbles. And there's remnants of those people all around. I see them. Don't you remember me, Imam Musa? I was at Baituddin. I said, well, good for you. Good for you, very good. So I was telling all the people, I said, yeah, all the Negroes I run across, you think taking $8,000 or something. Man, in Houston was the headquarters of free Islamic literature was down there. They had Bazargan's literature. They had Ibrahim Yazdi and all them guys used to be he was not the mayor, the doggone ambassador here at the first part of the revolution. They used to have free Islamic literature, and they bought the brothers that pretended to be Shias, they bought them, in those days, a $3 million shopping center down there. Good God Almighty. And so you wonder why nobody will give the Negro any more money. By the time we came, they had already saturated them here, right? You would be shocked with the little proposals, because when I came here, everybody knew that Imam Musa, that's the Negro boy. That boy he's hooked up with these guys. So guys came here, there was dinners, and they I need $300,000 to do this, that, and another. I said, well, I'll be doggone. I said, take it to them and see what they do. $300,000. That was a lot of money then. Actually, it's still a little bit of money. So when I told them, now you got to imagine, Hashim Alauddin and all them people done moved through out there, and they part of the curly-headed crew, and I'm sitting there looking at everything, and they doing their stuff. I would be stupid if I didn't. And Hashim, dad down in Houston at the little immigrant class, and he's teaching them on black this and that. You would think he was part of and George Jackson and all the black. I said, that's it. Because Hashim, you ask anybody, Abdul Malik, you ask all the girls. Halle Berry, all of them was there when we was there. Because all the little girls, nice looking young ladies, good little Muslim ladies, out at UC Berkeley, they was saying, talk to Hashim for me. You know, maybe we get married. The little Negro ladies, Hashim said, and all the black women know it, you cannot melt a black woman and pour her on me. Man, you talking about self-hatred. And lo and behold, look who he married. Iranians, I don't know, he'd been married a couple of times. But it just, I couldn't take it no more. And then I loved it, because all the guys that's been with me for 30 years, they were supposed to be with me. They went with Hashim. I said, great. And they thought, well, you're by yourself, so you have to, the people got that you're all alone stuff, they got that stuff wrong. You got to realize, I don't care if it's a Panther Party, I don't care what it is you want to do. When you look up 95% of the time, you're going to be by yourself. It's not me, it's everybody. Everybody that made a big success, at one time, people talked about him. You ain't gonna be nothing, you can't do that, right? That's all they heard. And then when it break, then they all come back. Oh, we was with you all the time. Yeah, man, I've been missing you. I said, you sure have. So this is one of the rules of success. It's not that there comes a period during that life cycle where you will be by yourself. And it happened to everybody. It happened to Malcolm, it happened to King. Remember King is talking, he said, if I have to do this, he said, I'm going to be nonviolent. Martin Luther King is something like that. I'm going to be nonviolent if you have to do it by yourself, if I have to do it by myself. Because he went against Boss Man, and that's where we get our money from, Boss Man. So the Vietnam War is no good. It's not good. Bump that. That's white folks' business, you know. They could bomb them little old gooks or whatever they are, right? What do we care? Right? That was the same. You can see it on TV every week. That's a natural, and if after you've been through it, you know, what I like about it is the white man trained me way ahead of time. You can't imagine going to the hole, always doing something, going to the hole all the time. To the hole, to the hole. One thing you learn in the hole, you learn how to appreciate yourself. And if you always going by yourself, you realize ain't nobody, when you in the hole by yourself. That's what the hole is, isolate. And then after you get out of the hole, you go into segregation, adjustment center, because you need to be adjusted. Boy, the white man is really something. I'm going to adjust you niggas' behavior. So he send you to adjustment center. Segregation, same as isolation, almost like the hole. And when he send you to the hole, you got to go through segregation and adjustment center before you get back on the main line. You can't just run out of the hole of going back on the main line. No, you coming out of the hole, then you go into segregation. And from segregation, you go into adjustment center, because niggas need adjustment, your behavior. You got to be fixed up and tooled up. And nigga need an adjustment. Yes, you do. I'm telling you, the white man is so mean that it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. The world that he has right now, it don't make sense. Why not have a better world? It don't make sense to him. He's greedy. He's all that stuff, right? He could they spend more money keeping you back, right? Than if they just spend it and give it to you, right? It's insanity. They got all these programs to keep you down and to keep you back, and all these agencies. Anyway, we're not going for it. Okay, we'll move toward a close. Again, what is our offer? Our offer is to be big. You want to get big? You want to make a contribution? If the people, like right now, if they're in Oakland, or if they're some of the ones here, if they got a spot out that way, or wherever they are, they out there little. They don't have that. If you don't go out there, you won't know they exist. Right? You won't know they exist. Why are they there? What is the purpose? Right? What is the purpose? Can they be big? No. Nobody's going to pay all your bills, right? And carry you around in a wheelbarrow, and you're going to be independent. Ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. They can do it. We're not doing that. We protected ourselves against that all the time, and one loaf of bread that belongs to you is better than 10 or 15 loaves of bread that's fed to you by other people. It ain't going to work. We're not going to do it. So, it's a big world, and we have to do our part to make it bigger and better. In the beginning, you make habits in the end. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, though, is this stuff real? Like, for instance, if we have, you know it's real because we didn't put it on the tape, and then you can have all the notes. But supposing we didn't have all these notes for decades after decades, and all these tapes from 1978, 79, not all of them, but 80% of them we got. We got our oral history, and they're separated here and there. We have a written history or the original notes. All this stuff, this goes on in the notebook after a while. But it's all the things that we've kept up with, and then it goes into a more permanent record. So in the beginning, you make habits, and the end, habits make you. Well, I'm just sorry for them. This, when life hurts, that type of stuff. Life do not hurt. I'm sorry. It hurts them. It hurts people that's not trained. It hurts people that life chose them or chose their mission. They fight in the battle that life chose for them. They're not fighting the battle that they chose. When you fight in the battle you chose, it's easy. Just like all of this, it couldn't get any easier. I'm sorry.
So that's like being reactionary.
Them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they reactionary is okay. It's not bad all the time. Like we talked about when people are born and they're raised, their environment influences them. When they go to the college or the university, they take courses that are like a standard colored course, you know, a Negro. If it's a foreigner, they're going to take up engineering and all that. If it's one of us, they're going to sociology, psychology, you know, little stuff that they can go work in the system. Or environmental management, like Sakina take all that stuff that Dr. Fauci and them be talking about. Public health management, but this is management, because they already got enough to go to work in it. But now, I said, well, you might as well get a PhD, whatever you want, and be doctor, sit down there, Miss Doctor so-and-so, and write all them statistics and stuff. What the heck, you know? And the other thing is, that has an influence on you. Family, background, all of that. So a lot of times, like the kids that went to school here, they're all in the top universities, they're doing good. That's wonderful. But the environment, the teachers here influence them. They influence them, okay? They influence my daughters, okay? I'm thankful, I'm glad. I wouldn't want my daughters doing what I do. Good God Almighty, they wouldn't last 2 seconds. They wouldn't. They wouldn't get a chance to develop because we slipped up on it. No, they could knock them out of the box, and then it might have a bigger influence on you because, you know, a man and daughters is different than a man and sons. He said, them niggas take care of themselves. Of course they can't. But no, for what they've done to my family, I'm going to look out for my family big time. When we get $100 million, I'm going to spread it out real good because what they did to them was unfair. They're not super duper world-saving Spider-Man type stuff. They just regular human beings, right? But regular human beings succumb to that. They can't, the government can break 98% of the people easy without even trying. Don't even have to, you know, use what they got. It ain't but 1 or 2 people going to get through that. I'm happy to be one of them. Very happy. It's not arrogance, but that's what happened. You know. And I'm not going to use it dumbly. I'm going to use it just like I've been using it. Hey, y'all want to come on by? But eventually you close the door. You know, you say, look, we just laid it out. You got 2 more weeks, you know, basically. You got 2 more weeks to call. Nice lady down there in Dixie, you call in 2 weeks, it's fine. Any time past that, we're sorry. Because it means that you're not committed to it. You don't want to grow. Stay down there with them little niggas. Stay where you are. Yeah. Be little. Don't grow and develop. Because see, when you get it with boss man directly, you gotta grow. Your writing, your clarity, you know. Just the little stuff we did, all them old As-Sabiquns, you read that stuff, I said, man, I don't know, did I really write this stuff? That's the way it looks. I said, man, this makes sense. You ever read any of that stuff? I said, I didn't write this. And that's old stuff, way back. Imagine the stuff that's coming up now. So wait a minute. I said, man, this stuff is deep. Okay, it don't make no difference whether over at Isna, Ikna, or across the street, whether they're Shia or Sunnis. If they don't get it, that's their problem. We're not responsible for them. So it's real. If it's real, then what does it mean to the environment? And as we said, the FBI came in here and just run their mouth. They can come back. You know, what you gonna do? You know, put up with Zionists running your country, telling you what to do, making fun of your head people, right? You work for them and they make fun of them. Good God Almighty. Well, what kind of country you can see? See, they can already see that the country is taken over. They can see that they have a buffoon that's been hired. You couldn't hire even also ran like Bill Clinton, had too much sense to do what Don do. You have to be a crackpot, and you have to be a mean, you know, like it's all about me only, right? It ain't about the country. And then look what it do to the country. See, the other people have to see, they see, this is America. You didn't have America here, and now it ain't yours anymore. You work for the Zionists. Your kids go to fight Zionist wars. And they come back here broke up and sick and they kill themselves. Your kids are killing themselves because your government don't care about you because they care only about Zionists. And they want to fight. If Saddam got a big army left over from the first Gulf War, well, you go over there and finish that army off because it could fight us, right? Oh, Syria, we got to finish Syria off. Israelis bomb Syria right now. Nobody say nothing. It's okay because they're Zionists, right? They came. They're talking about all the people coming to Europe. Well, they couldn't come there until you destroyed Libya, and then they have slavery in Libya. Black people are being enslaved. Well, they didn't have them enslaved under Gaddafi. He was helping all the Negroes. If anything is wrong there, you did it, right? They don't accept responsibility for nothing. We're not going to put up with that. They do it. We have to explain. And look, none of our Negroes, Muslims, mayors, Sunni, Shia, none of them say anything about it. You ever hear? They don't mention nothing. It's like, hey, okay, we'll try to speed up here a little bit. So just getting up, you know, that's what we're doing. Okay. Even now, you notice how they say what they want when they, well, after 9/11 and the first World Trade Center, Ramzi Youssef and all them, now all of a sudden they're saying 90% of all domestic terrorism is done by domestic groups. Now they're saying it's all white folks doing it. Look, those are people who are making decisions about our life, not the brothers. You can just they can put me on the bad list. I'm not going for it. And ain't nobody scared of them. Okay. Practice control failure, fall forward, self-image goals. Contribute to humanity, yeah. There's just a few things that they, in all that goal setting. Write 3 goals, do monthly budget, read a new book, pay all the bills. You notice how I get the bills right away and I pay them right away. So all these stuff on success, I already do them. Cut toxic people out of your, naysayers. Can't do it. These white folks say schedule a me day. Well, we don't have to schedule a me day. The white folks schedule one for you. No, they do. They mess with you so much, you'll have to think about me sometime. Like, remember I gave a lecture, I said I talk about me all the time, but everything I do is for y'all. You ever notice that? That's the habit. That's a habit. I know I would be stupid if something happens all day, every day, and I don't ever mention it. You'll blow your man, you'll go crazy. That's what they do to a lot of brothers. They say, I ain't gonna mention nothing. They can last about 2 weeks, a month, or a year. Then they gonna go crazy. I talk about it. I say, oh no, boss man, you ain't gonna trick me. You know what I mean? And they're thinking, it ain't me. It's anybody that want to change you or anything. Like the other night I was watching the suffragettes, the women that did all that marching, to get the vote. Man, them was white women. You ever see how they treat them white? They had them stuck over the D.C. jail, starving to death, beating them. Hey, man, and then the daughters of the Negro ladies, the Negro women, they wanted to ease them in. They cut them. They said, well, for the betterment of the whole thing, Carolina, the South, won't accept this if you guys are in, or visibly, or if we mention you. So cutting the Negro out is nothing new. They always, I don't care. No, it's the program. And they don't care. When you want to change something, man, they beat them. Them was old white women. They was this kind of white. They was regular white women in those days. They say, you ain't changing nothing. And imagine we here telling old boss man, you got to straighten up and fly right. You got to do this. You got to. Hey, man, we're happy. Boss man, I would almost say boss man treating us good. When you think about it, what if we was overseas? What if we was anywhere else? What about all my friends? They killed them. Just imagine you're a grown man and you got 2 friends that was raised up with you still alive. In the 7th grade or something. That means boss man is, when you come through that sifter and you see what boss man do, that beating upside that ain't nothing. Boss man will barbecue a nigga's behind and hang him up in the air, have him on an airplane. That's what they call it. Boss man is pretty mean. He'll hang you upside. Boss man is a mean old joker. So just to sell wolf tickets and he just boo and try to scare you, I said, thank you very much, boss man. Boy, he treats the nigga good. That's good treatment. It may not be good treatment to other people, but it is to me. It's wonderful. Boss man just try to make sure you don't get nowhere, try to tear up this, tear up that, mess your cars. Hell, that's fine. Right? That ain't no big deal. Look what he do to everybody else. Hey, man, you got to add up. Is this real? Now, you got to, every now and then, at least add up the environmental situation. You got to look at that. Well, what happens to Negroes that make fun of the Zionists? So, well, they last 2, 3 weeks. Well, suppose, yeah, 40 years. That's fine, right? And tickling them, you know what I mean? Feathering them, whooping them with a feather. Right, man, right? Mr. Zionist, Miss Zionist, all y'all, right? And you just, and ain't crazy and having a good time. Hey, man, it's an adjustment. And it also means that evidently things is going to go all the way. When you asking for 25 years, it's very possible that you might get it. And then if you act like you got it, so you get 5 years, that's fine. 80 years, nigga, 80-year-old nigga, it's not that bad. 85, suppose you hit 90, 15 years from now, shoot, you roll it. And if you hit 100, I had an uncle, great uncle, he married when he was 103. I said, what? He said, yeah, he's 103. I said, well, what did so-and-so do? He said he picked cotton till he was 106 years old. I said, good God Almighty. And all the old men that was in the Civil War, some run off and didn't, you know, because they all there in a group, you know. And the reason that their stories coincide so much with history, they're all there. A whole group of veterans from them old little towns. And nobody, when you got back to your little town, that's where you stayed. So they repeated the story over and over and over again. So when my father repeated it to me, it was 100% just like Grant on the TV, you know, History Channel. Exactly, they came down in rafts and they did that. And then the black troops lost 70%. 70%, good God Almighty. And then some run off, the ones that run off, they didn't get a pension. You know what I mean? The other ones that stayed, they got a pension, you know what I mean? But old Mr. So-and-so, no, he run off. He said, I ain't gonna stay, but he didn't get a pension. They didn't shoot him or nothing, but he just didn't get no pension because he run off. You know, it's good to have I wouldn't call it first-hand history, but I know I was lucky. Born in 1945, some of the people that was born and that lived in slavery was still alive. Remember, if you're 80 years old or over, and I saw them, that means they was enslaved, they was born in slavery. Just 80 years old. Now imagine the amount of people that you're going to see that's over 80 years old. Okay. And then all of the old people in them little towns, they just sat there the rest of their life, and you heard that stuff. And my father, born in 1900, he heard it over and over and over and over again. You see what I mean? So, what did that boy do? Okay, we'll keep talking anyway. So, the point is that we have a very close tie to all of that stuff they have on TV, find your ancestors and all of that. It's all right there with us. What impact are we going to have, you know? With all of those are blessings. That means that whether it's your family name or your historical name, you know, even you hear certain names now that carries a lot of respect, but that's just the beginning. It's not doing it for a name. It's doing it for the historical reality. It's doing it for everybody. And imagine when you do stuff for other people that you don't even want nothing from it, right? That's like if you get rich and you want everybody else to be rich, and you move to the point to where you sleep on the floor, you don't want nothing anymore, but you want everybody else to have it. You see what I mean? You can't lose. That's why this is a big deal. We'll move toward a close. So, just briefly the other night. So, the whole world got a chance the other night to see the fall of America. The people called, one guy called it, this is a train wreck. The other guy said, or the same guy said, no, it was off the rails. It was a train wreck. You know, no one said this was civilized. And look at these guys. Both of them look insane. But Don looks crazier. And the whole family was watching. They said, he won't let him talk. I said, leave him alone. Let Don talk. Let Don go. You know what I mean? And after it was over, they saw what it meant. Let him talk. The guy cannot not lie. And he was lying like you see him do the fact checks. This guy lies so much, hey man, about everything. He didn't tell the truth about nothing, right? And the world saw it. Their allies saw it. Their enemies saw it. The respect level of the United States during Donald Trump's period, it was already headed down. But Obama, it was still human during Obama's time, because he's a good Negro. He did better than they thought he was, you know. But they missed the opportunity. With Obama, they could have sold ice to Eskimos. 235,000 people out in Germany. America, what was they call it? Post-racial something? Hey, it ain't post-racial now. And now they're trying to scare somebody with a...
Well, that's what Trump is doing. He's reversing everything that Obama did. That's his plan.
That's it. He said he was going to do it, and he's doing it. But see, you got to remember, what he's counting on don't exist. He's counting on scaring everybody to death. And like the white folks said the other day, they said, he ain't gonna keep this. He gotta go. And 2 or 3 Boogaloo boys and the other people ain't gonna do nothing, and the army come out, or the U.S. Marshals will come drag his behind out of there. Because it's too American. You got to get out. I look forward, I wouldn't mind watching the Marshals come and drag him out of the White House and pull him by, he got 3 strands of hair, pull him by his hair. Yeah, what the heck? They're going to have to wrap it around their little finger and pull him that way. But no, you want to be a fool? Go ahead. Yeah, you want to be a fool? You want to make America look like a fool? And guess what? I'm going to close with this, or in a minute. We prayed for this. We prayed for, actually, we are getting just a pinch more than we, but you know, what the heck? Accept it. If Allah give it to you, Allah said, boy, you need more than that, what you praying for. We're gonna throw down in your case, and that's what's happening. Man, can you imagine? And nobody else prayed for it. Nobody else say, oh, Allah, make a fool out of America, bring them down, make clown the whole system, and just have people rolling in the aisles. And they are. Some of them are just mystified. What is happening to America? In every war, who they want to fight? China. It's not the time to be messing with China. China's in pocket. Then you mess with the Chinamans, they're going to get their own money, they're going to get this. They already, if there's 17 choke points in the world, right? I think China is in 11 or 12 of them. Around the world, they already there. And everybody, oh, we nice Chinamans. Right? Hey, They done won that hands down. Okay, and guess whose economy is doing pretty good? China's economy. Guess who ain't nobody? It's 1.234 billion people and ain't but 3 or 4 people dying, right? It's insanity. How can that happen? It's insanity. Okay, I would go on forever. Are there any questions or any comments about anything? I know we kind of went around the barn a little bit, but we just wanted to have a little diversity and encourage people. This is our time. We want our people to get with us. Be somebody. You can't be anybody being on a program. Not gonna just it don't work. Just make a global contribution. Is it anything or not?
Someone owes a comment. Brother said it's a revolutionary change taking place in America that the naked eye is not able to see. America is a paper. What we have now, Islam is favorable for this time. Even the medical field must go in the direction of holistic healthcare, education system, hospital, and land to grow your own food.
Yeah, all that's the stuff we, agricultural liberation, that's all that. Yeah, like we say, we're not all alone. It's people, man. In fact, it's probably going to be shocking to us the amount of people that are, Hollywood is on our team already. Half the rappers and come around, right? I mean, everybody that is somebody, half of them is already on the team. Some are really on the team. When you listen to them, you say, man, they own the money. So, and as far as Boss Man can't do nothing with Boss Man can't do nothing. Everybody, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the generals, Colin Powell and them all the way down. Guess what? They gonna name an aircraft carrier after Dory Miller. It's maybe 100 years late, but it's just 1941, but it's okay. Dory Miller. Isn't that something? That's wonderful, right? So it's not going to be that type of disaster. I think they didn't call the wrong number on this one. That they trying to make it seem like he gonna do this and gonna do that. But I don't think he's going to be able to do. I think the system will put a stop to him, and a little tussle here and there won't hurt him. It'll be good. No, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think the press is cooperating, trying to make it look like fear mongering, but. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. People be laughing too hard to be fighting. They're just gonna be laughing too hard. Every time he opens his mouth, they're gonna start rolling. And then he's broke too. He could do some time. You let the white folks, they can, he might do a little time. You never know. He done lied so much. If they get him on 2% of the lies he done told, he could do some time. He might do it at federal prison camp, but it won't hurt him. He'd go out there and grow a little hair or something. Any more comments? If not, that's it. Okay. Thank you very much. As-Salamu Alaikum.